Why does it work this way? Explain it like I'm 10 years old. Explain it like I'm 10. When you restart a computer, does it actually turn off completely? Think of it like a chef in a restaurant. Shut down normally, the chef cleans the kitchen, turns off the lights, and goes home. Force power off, holding the button, the chef just drops everything, leaves a giant mess, and storms out. Restart, you tell the chef, clean everything, reset the kitchen, but don't leave the restaurant. So the computer isn't fully off. Some systems stay awake so it knows how to start back up again. How do we know everyone sees the same colors? Short answer, we don't. You might call something green and I might see it in a completely different way, but since we both grew up with people calling it green, we agree on the word. This is called qualia, the idea that we can't truly know what someone else experiences inside their mind. Science can measure wavelengths and categorize colors, but the personal experience, that's locked inside each brain. Why are ship windows round instead of square? Because sharp corners are weak spots. Stress builds up there and cracks form easily. Circles and arches spread stress evenly, making them super strong. So round windows, portholes, don't shatter as easily when the ocean gets spicy. Explain it like I'm 10. Why do people seem to age so quickly after a traumatic event? Stress pumps out cortisol, a stress hormone that causes inflammation and speeds up aging. Add in depression, guilt, or grief, and it changes how someone looks and carries themselves. It's strong enough that kids under heavy stress in early life often hit puberty earlier than peers who grew up calmer. Basically, stress can fast forward the body's clock. Why do we always see the same side of the moon? Doesn't it rotate? Yep, it rotates, but it does so in perfect sync with its orbit around Earth. This is called tidal locking. Basically, Earth's gravity pulled on the moon so much that it stretched slightly, and that bulge got locked in. Now, the moon spins at the same speed it orbits, so we always see the same face. Fun fact, the so-called dark side of the moon isn't actually always dark. Any part of the moon can be lit or shadowed depending on the phase. The far side is just the side we never see from Earth. When the moon was still hot and squishy, Earth's gravity froze its rotation this way. Today it's stuck showing us the same half forever. Why can't you spend spicy money like normal cash? Why wash it through banks? If you only buy small stuff, groceries, clothes, nobody cares much. But the moment you want a house or a car, sellers won't just take a giant bag of cash. You'll need a bank. Now, if you suddenly drop a fat stack of bills into your account, tax agencies get suspicious. They'll check your past income and ask, wait, how can a janitor making $20K a year afford 10 sports cars and a mansion? Banks are legally required to ask for proof of where the money came from. If they don't, they risk being accused of helping with cash wash operations. It's the same principle in insurance. If you claim 100K worth of items were all brand new, but your salary is only 50K a year, it looks sketchy. Fraud detection is basically about spotting when your money story doesn't match your life story. Explain it like I'm 10. What were the Panama Papers, and why did everyone stop talking about them? Honestly, nothing revolutionary was revealed. It was just records from one law firm showing how people set up companies in countries with low oversight, often to hide owners or reduce taxes. This has been happening for hundreds of years in Switzerland, the Bahamas, and elsewhere. Sometimes it's legal, sometimes not, but the leaks didn't uncover some secret money super system. Some people might have used it for shady stuff, but proving it from one batch of documents is tricky. Mostly, it was just people keeping assets private, like a celebrity not wanting their home address public. Why do humans need all kinds of food for vitamins, but cows survive on just grass? Cows have a ridiculously complex digestive system with multiple stomach chambers. They basically run grass through a multi-step fermentation factory, complete with chewing it twice. Hello, cud. This lets them squeeze nutrients out of stuff we'd get nothing from. The trade-off? It's super inefficient time-wise. A cow spends about 6 hours a day eating and can munch through 30 pounds of low-nutrient grass daily. From their perspective, the better question is, why didn't cows evolve to eat more nutrient-rich foods so they wouldn't spend their whole day snacking? Why can't we digest our own blood? Actually, you can digest blood. The problem is when there's too much of it where it doesn't belong. Blood has lots of nitrogen stored in proteins and compounds. Normally that's fine, but digestion breaks them down into ammonia, which is extremely toxic. Your liver works hard to convert ammonia into safer forms, but if you swallow too much blood at once, your liver can't keep up. That's why the body pulls the emergency brake and makes you vomit. Better to waste nutrients than poison yourself. Explain it like I'm 10. Why can't we just take pills with dopamine, serotonin, or oxytocin like we do with melatonin? In a way, some people do. That's basically what a bunch of banned happy candies are. They either mimic brain chemicals or force your body to release more. But there are big problems. Balance issues. If your brain keeps getting flooded with feel-good signals, it fights back by lowering sensitivity. That's why people chasing the buzz often feel worse without it and need more and more. side quests. These chemicals do more than just make happy. For example, serotonin is also key for digestion. Too much can trigger something called serotonin overload, which can actually be deadly. The brain's shield. Most of these chemicals can't cross the blood-brain firewall, so even if you swallowed them, they wouldn't reach your brain. Instead, some meds sneak past the firewall and then either turn into neurotransmitters inside or push your brain to make more. If skin keeps regenerating, why don't scars just disappear? So scars are different. They're not made of normal skin cells, but mostly of collagen, basically nature's duct tape. Your body uses collagen to seal the wound quickly because full skin regeneration is too expensive energy-wise and not great for survival. Fun fact, with scurvy, vitamin C deficiency, the body can't maintain collagen. Old scars can actually reopen like some weird horror movie DLC. Why do videos from the 70s often look better than ones from the 90s? Because a lot of what survived from the 70s was shot on high-quality film like 35mm or even 70mm. Film was expensive, buying it, developing it, storing it, so if you were spending all that money, you'd also invest in good lighting and sound. That's why the results age so well. There's also survivor bias. The stuff we still see from the 70s is usually the high-quality work that was worth preserving. Meanwhile, soap operas and game shows back then were often recorded on magnetic tape, which aged way worse and was often erased and reused to save money. By the late 70s, soap started archiving episodes. In the 80s, consumer and semi-pro video gear became common, which led to tons of DIY projects. By the 90s, the vibe shifted. Graining garage-style video fit with grunge, punk, and metal culture. Gear with a few $1,000s could make something good enough for late-night cable. Back then, reaching an audience wasn't as simple as uploading a phone video to YouTube. You usually needed a studio or distributor, plus bosses who approved everything. Compared to the old days of mailing 16mm reels to theaters or festivals, the 90s were way easier, but the look definitely changed. Explain it like I'm 10. Why do we train muscles separately at the gym if in real life they never work alone? Even basic movements use lots of muscles together, but some muscles do most of the work while others barely help. That's why we do isolation exercises, to make all muscles strong and balanced. For beginners, isolation helps build weaker muscles before attempting full compound exercises. For example, if someone's lower back is weak, they might strengthen their legs first before doing full squats. Some people also care about aesthetics, so they give certain muscles extra attention to make them look balanced or defined, especially bodybuilders in competitions. Why do you suddenly lose motivation to do something after someone tells you to do it, even if you are about to do it? It's all about feeling in control. When someone tells you what to do, your brain switches from "I'm doing this because I like it" to "I'm doing this for a reward." Even if the reward is money, your internal motivation drops. For example, an amateur artist who gives away their paintings still enjoys making them. A professional getting paid more and more may enjoy the process less and less. The brain just flips the switch from fun to work mode. Why does hearing your own voice with a short delay completely mess you up? On live TV, remote guests wear earpieces with something called a mix minus. That's the program audio minus their own voice so they don't hear themselves with the delay. If the engineer screws up and sends them the wrong feed, the guest hears their own words coming back a second later. That's when you see someone yank the earpiece mid-broadcast. Why does it break your brain? Because your mind constantly monitors your own voice to check you're saying the right sounds. When delayed feedback comes in, the brain tries to correct itself, but the timing is all wrong, so speech stumbles. Same reason singers need monitors or in-ear headphones. If they can't hear themselves, they can't stay on pitch. Explain it like I'm 10. How do birds fly across the ocean for days? Like, when do they sleep? So here's the cool part. I actually know this one thanks to my 3-year-old's favorite podcast. There are 2 tricks. Some birds can fly for weeks without landing. They take tiny micro naps that last just a few seconds. Usually they glide while doing this, repeating the naps many times a minute, which adds up to a real night's sleep. Other birds go half and half. One side of the brain sleeps while the other stays awake. Kinda like whales. So they're literally on autopilot with half a brain resting, and then they switch sides. From a science perspective, we don't fully understand how animals pull this off, but honestly, that's because we don't even fully understand sleep itself. How can athletes dive from 50+ meters into water and not turn into pancakes? They don't always come out unharmed. Even at 20 meters, pros report long-term damage, like busted cartilage and knees. The world record is about 58.8 meters, and that's considered the extreme upper limit. Above 30 meters, the risk of serious injury skyrockets if your injury isn't perfect. It's all about deceleration time. If you hit feet first in a tight, streamlined position, you slice into the water and slow down gradually. If you belly flop, instant brick wall. Water resistance grows with the square of speed. At high enough velocity, even perfect form can't save you. That's when physics says, nope, you're toast. What's happening when you're falling asleep and suddenly your body jerks, waking you up? Your brain areas usually talk to each other with electrical signals. When sleep starts, a giant sleep wave sweeps across the brain, cutting that communication. That's why you feel like you're slowly sinking into sleep. When your body suddenly twitches, it means some parts of your brain are still firing off signals like, hey, why did everyone else stop talking? The sleep wave has to cover them again, and once it fully takes over, you drift off for real. Why is euthanasia often the only choice for a horse with a broken leg? Horses have to stand and move to stay healthy. They can't lie down for long periods, and their massive bones take forever to heal. If the fracture is bad, the horse keeps putting weight on the leg, breaking it again, and the pain is unbearable. Plus, there's a disease called laminitis. When a horse favors 3 legs, the stress can literally destroy the hoof walls and even pierce the foot bones. At that stage, euthanasia is the only humane option. Lighter injuries might heal, but when a horse must stand on 3 legs, there's no saving them. Explain it like I'm 10. Why do we feel like thirst goes away almost immediately after drinking, but fullness from food takes way longer? You've got sensors in your mouth, throat, and esophagus that quickly tell your brain, yo, we just drank water. So even before that water is fully absorbed, your body already acts like it's hydrated. Food is different. Your brain checks stomach stretch, hormones released during digestion, and even chemical signals from gut bacteria. That whole process takes way longer, which is why you can already be full but not feel it for several minutes. Thanks for watching, smash that like button, see you next time.